No, no, io aspetto, non vi preoccupate. Però okay. All right, so we're back for the last session of the day. Indeed, not really the last one. Anyway, we will be having the presentations from the work package leaders, and I guess all of you know that we don't start from one, but we start from 2, 3, and 4, and then we go back to 1, and then we do 5. Okay, so the first one will be 2. Before starting with these, first of all, I ask, if possible, to the presenters not to use all their 15 minutes, if they can, so that we make up for some time. If you can, 12, 13 minutes anyway. Then, as you know, in the program, there is a final half an hour where I guess we called it debriefing something. It's something that we ask every partner to fill. In order to give you an idea of what we are going to ask you, actually, in order to give you more time to think about what to say and what to write to us, we will distribute these now. It's only 2 pages. Can I ask you, I know it's not like technological, but can I ask you to raise your hand if you are a partner, the leader of a partner, because we will give one single sheet to each partner. So if you raise your hand, you help them out and they will come to you and give you this. So each partner, if you are the leader of the partner, and no, maybe yes, yeah, everybody. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, it's going. Every partner got one? No, some there on the left side. We ask each partner to fill it. So, you can do it in isolation. You can do it while the other are presenting. You can do it at the end. You can consult with your teammates. Every partner. I guess a new partner has just entered the room, so maybe you should give one to Marcel. One per partner. Okay. Supposedly it's 23 of them, plus me and Guido, so I don't know what you did, but every partner, I guess, got one. So Karina, your turn. So we now start with the presentations. Karina and Ilan, work package 2. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
How do we go to slide? Oh. So thank you. So I'm Elan from University College London, and we are all realizing, if we could have the next slide, please, we're all realizing how brilliant this project is. So really, thanks to Michele. And it's not just in the sense of what we've come together and discussed, but also the overarching approach, the name HuT, which is a shelter. In the subtitle of the project, a safe haven. Long before disaster research was a field, humanitarian relief said that shelter is not a product, it is a process. When you shelter people after a disaster, when you give them a hut, it's not just the four walls and a roof, but it's a process of feeling you are in a safe haven. Sheltering, the verb. And the picture that you see on the screen I took in Scotland. In Scottish English, a word for shelter is sheeling. S-H-E-A-L-I-N-G, sheeling. And so with another colleague, we looked at S-healing for slow healing. Post-disaster, rather than quick recovery, rather than coming back immediately, people need time to process, to go through that process of shielding, of sheltering. And that's what we're doing here in the 4 years. That's the whole point of the process of creating a safe haven to shield, to shelter, to produce a process of having a hut. So thank you to you, and thank you to Michele.
Thank you. So with that in mind, Work Package 2 is focused on human behaviours, and of course that means that we cover pretty much everything in one way or another, because humans are involved in pretty much everything. So, we will be talking to everyone really in the project. What we really want to be doing, though, is particularly focusing on how do we construct our knowledge, what experts are we bringing to the table when we're discussing these issues, what kind of communication are we doing, what kind of engagement and education are we doing, and perhaps what is the difference between communication, education, and engagement? 3 terms that are commonly used together and defined differently, but seemingly mean the same things. How do we make decisions? Every human is making a decision, and the person who's making the most important decision is the person who's having to respond to some information, whether that's a formal warning, an informal warning, and they're deciding whether to evacuate, where to go, what to do. So how are they making their decisions? How are the processes that are being designed to enable that person to make the best decision for them and their family? And are they even capable of responding to a warning or information in AMP time? Thinking about the scale of activities, we're in an ever increasingly internationalized, most of the parties in this are in the EU. Sadly, we are not anymore. So there's an issue of standardization and scale across on an EU level versus on a national level. And how do we turn warnings into actions? We can't just keep throwing warnings out there and expecting people to know what to do and just respond. In fact, we need to flip the picture on its head. So that's what we really want to do here, is we want to try and recognize the role of technology in the package of human behaviors. But equally, we want human behaviors to be driving what technologies we want, what technologies are needed to help support the process, and how can we make humans more resilient with or without technology. So we want to engage with different stakeholders and the different demonstrator sites. So what I'm going to do now is just very quickly go through the Work Package 2. And what we really are trying to do is examine those human-centric DRI activities for the extreme climate events and how they can be better implemented to build long-term adaptation and resilience. So it's really important that we think about long-term adaptation and resilience here. This isn't just a quick fix. This is thinking about long-term. So we will be contributing across the project through 4 main tasks, and we will be integrating aspects of risk perception, vulnerability and resilience into warnings, and storytelling for the public and key stakeholders to help embed disaster risk reduction into the fabric of society. We bring together a number of different partners to do that. And you may remember from this graphic here that human behaviours sit across the 5 thematic components. And I put this up really to drive to sort of emphasise the drive that we have to have this being driven by the needs of the different groups of people who are involved. What do they need? What do the people need? Is what the people think they need actually what they need? A great point that Brian brought up earlier. And thinking about those transfers of best practices, how do they work in the different locations? So the demonstrators are absolutely pivotal in our work package. We really need you, the work package groups, to be communicating with us and engaging with us, because without you, we can't create that human technology nexus. We can't make those links. That means working with the hazard monitoring and warning agencies, local academic sites, local civil protection, emergency managers, local authorities, whatever they may be, local communities and citizens or community groups, European and international public at large, tourists, civil society, policymakers, industrial, businesses, and other potential end users. All of these people are involved. So this is an old diagram, actually, of the overview of Work Package 2, but I think it very simply gives a good overview of what we're doing at. In many ways, the package focuses on warning systems, because warning systems, we strongly believe in the Warning Research Centre that warning systems are one of the key tools to operationalise a lot of disaster risk reduction methods and approaches. What we want to make sure is clear is that we're not talking about warning systems as just being a siren or a warning. We're talking about warnings being that end-to-end approach, about them being not just the first mile and the last mile, but the whole group together, united. That we're actually asking people what they need so they get the warnings that they need when they want, and they know how to respond because they thought about it beforehand. So it's all this kind of joined up thinking that we need that are part of the warning system. Part of the warning system is making sure that we have built the appropriate defences or evacuation routes in advance. Otherwise, the warning is pointless. It just sits alone. It's not part of a system. So we have 4 key parts of our work package, and just to go over briefly, the first one is really looking at how can we understand the DRR activities that are happening across in terms of climate events, and with a focus on early warnings and the legal remits of these across our 10 demonstrator sites. So we're going to be looking at archival and documental analysis to be producing a state-of-the-art, and some key literature relating to some of the case studies that have shown successes. Work Package 2.2, or Task 2.2, is then taking this on an operational level and looking at how warnings are actually operating. And things that we'll be focusing on decision-making by key stakeholders, multi-scale warnings, and multi-directional warning communication. So this is, again, is about linking. Sometimes the public, the person in the street, is the person who first sees the hazard and they generate the first warning. How can they get the capacity to feed that up into an agency who can then tell someone else, and then everybody can respond to it? This has to be a joint effort. The third element is focusing on public engagement, and this is really in terms of evaluating the effectiveness of the actions and how we do stakeholder engagement, not as an afterthought, but as a forethought. How do we get the public involved right at the start in an upstream way? So what we'll be looking at things is public awareness, risk awareness and preparedness, looking at the vulnerability of groups and how they can be reduced, and the impacts on decision-making processes. So we can be using scenarios and simulation events to review the effectiveness of these systems and looking at how public engagement can be enhanced. Finally, we're looking at how we can create a cultural change in human behaviours. This is the ultimate task. And evidence time and time again shows us the role of educational materials. And so this package is really focusing on educational and engagement materials, particularly for school children, but awareness campaigns for the public, and integrating the local culture into the DRR process to make sure it's more relevant and integrated for those communities. And this can be done through surveys, focus groups, and citizen juries and panels. So we have a number of different opportunities of engagement that we can do, and actually here you can see here the different needs and thematic components that we feed into. So it's quite a significant amount there. And we also work closely with the other work packages in terms of the governance and policy, science and technology, communication, dissemination, and exploitation. So these are the other work packages we work most closely with. In terms of what we want to deliver, or what we need to deliver, is a report, State of the Art of Human-Centric DRR Activities, which is in month 6, so that's pretty soon, so that'll probably be one of the first outputs. So really we want to bring together the state-of-the-art knowledge and help that be a foundation piece for the project going forward. A report on communicating warning messages in month 24, co-developing DRR solutions with communities, which is in month 36, a policy brief on how warnings can be integrated within society, which will be month 42, working closely with the governance and policy working group as well. And then the final is the report on the educational material produced. So there's a bit of a brief timetable there. So just 2 last slides here. We do have a number of potential barriers to this work package. The first would be if we don't have any community engagement. And that doesn't just mean the public, that means actually the people on the demonstration sites. And that might be on purpose, because you might not want to talk to us. But it might also be because you're very busy dealing with actual crises and other events, and these things happen. So we appreciate that sometimes community engagement is not always easy or timely. Likewise, another pandemic or some other kind of situation might hinder or change the narrative slightly. Also, we want to be able to engage with vulnerable groups, but they might not be willing to engage with us, or marginalized groups. And of course, we would need to manage language barriers across the various countries involved, particularly in the context of the public. We face the same challenges in terms of working across silos of the various hazards, organizations, disciplines, and technologies involved. Just working with people is complicated, right? We know that. So, but we're going to work to build some better policies and processes. So just to finish up, just some key questions, I guess, to think about in the context of Work Package 2 is what is needed? How can we share practices and knowledges? How can we best communicate? How can we enhance warnings? And how can we achieve early action or action? Does it have to be early, as Ilan said? Sometimes late action is as important as early action. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Work Package 3.
This is our team. And they're going to be helping me out here because, to be honest, we wrote the work package, and as we all know, when we write a work package, we put in all kinds of buzzwords, but it really takes a team. It takes a team to start filling that out, and that process has started at this meeting. We've talked a lot, we've learned a lot, we're moving this forward. We'll just give you a little bit of the skeleton here, and I'm going to ask each of them to kind of contribute just a few words about how they see the tasks moving forward. Right, so it's up there. This is the work package on governance and policy. Yeah, just a few motivational words. We've heard a huge amount here about all the science that's going into monitoring disaster hazards, all of the science that's going into looking at exposure, vulnerability, the kinds of things we're going to need to develop very technical early warning systems, but also, not as much talk, but quite a lot of discussion about other methods of actually reducing disaster risks. That's all good, and we have to have the science, but we all know out there that science to policy is very, very complicated, very difficult. That's what this work package is really about. It's about governance. And by governance, of course, we don't mean just government. We mean today in our democracies, governance is really a networked activity. It's a network of government, it's a network of civil society actors, NGOs, et cetera, and it's a network that involves industry and business, market actors. They all come together in very complex ways to actually set policy agendas, move policy agendas forward. And, maybe some of you know about the policy cycle. We start with, trying to get something on the agenda, move it around all the way through design, planning, implementation. And an incredibly important part of that, of course, is financing. Financing is, it's a big part of governance. So how we're going to get the funding to put in these early warning systems, for example, when there's a lot of other competing things that society wants to do. How are we going to get the funding for disaster risk reduction? We know that that's hugely difficult. And we know that there's lots and lots of conflicts. Early warning systems are a little bit immune from that. It's kind of, you don't find too many opponents to an early warning system. You might find opponents to actually obeying them, but you don't find opponents to putting them in place. But try putting in a nature-based solution where you're going to have to move homes out of a floodplain, or try to say you cannot build in this area. You get into huge, huge conflicts. That's what governance and policy is really about. So financing, conflict resolution. I could go on and on, but I'm going to stop there and start moving forward to this work package. I press here, this one? Yeah, okay. These are the objectives which are written in the proposal. First, these were all the buzzwords we wanted to say to get the funding, right? But they're important. Right, we want to facilitate multi-hazard systemic risk reduction by identifying and addressing governance, policy, and market enablers and barriers at local, national, and EU scale. So try to figure out what can enable this from a governance standpoint and what are some of the barriers. Support disaster risk reduction policy processes, and processes are not just about government, as I was just explaining, by developing gaming tools. Advance innovative risk transfer and finance solutions, and contribute to the development of Nexus Task and Work Package 2. I was really very interested in hearing about this work in Work Package 2 and do see huge synergies there. So, okay, so let's turn first to Task 3.1. These are enablers and barriers to multi-hazard systemic risk reduction. And I didn't put out all the wording in that task, but for me, what was most important about that is that we're going to base this on experience in the demonstrators. And we've been listening very closely to the demonstrators to figure out which ones we can connect with this task. So I'm going to let Anna say something about maybe that the first deliverable. I didn't put all the tasks because the deliverables pretty much correspond to the tasks, but the deliverable 3.1, I'll let Anna say a few words.
Yes, so in task 3.1, we want to really focus on the enablers for multi-risk early warnings and disaster risk reduction. I think as many of you know, cascading processes are often in a gray area. So nobody is really responsible for them because you have the authorities responsible in silos for landslides, for floods, avalanches, of all the hazards we have heard about today during the demonstrator sites presentations. But, there are some gray areas that need to be covered if we really want to be able to respond effectively to this type of cascading. So, and we will look into that. How can we overcome the barriers, but also how we can identify enablers that, worked successfully to implement multi-risk reduction systems. So we will not only look into early warnings, we will also expand a little bit, as Joan said, and maybe I will say a few words about the governance enabler work as well here, or you want to?
You can go to the next slide.
Yeah, and then I go back.
Yeah, go back.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of what we mean by governance enablers, we are presently working on a systematic literature review that is looking into governance enablers for nature-based solution. And these are some of our findings from colleagues at HuT. And as you can see, you know, what was enabling the implementation of nature-based solution, but here we will look also into the implementation of multi-risk early warning systems, was in this case policy and legal instruments. So do we have appropriate legislative settings for implementing multi-risk early warning system? Do we have you know, responsibilities, how these are allocated, who is responsible for what? Is there insurance supporting private sector implementing early warning systems? So other examples of enablers are linked to engagement, was mentioned with regard to work package 2, and links are certainly there. Funding, certain type of governance arrangement that are across different levels of governance, so from regional to national to local, because not all hazards are, the responsibilities for certain hazards can be at national level, like typically volcanic eruptions, for example. For some other hazards, you have the responsibility at the river basin level, so how do we address this barrier? So I stop here. Sorry, I was probably too long, right?
No, you were perfect. You were perfect. How do we go back?
Yeah, yeah. And I leave it up to.
Okay. And now I'm going to call Guido on to talk about the second deliverable from this first
Yes,
task.
yes, this deliverable is aimed at providing guidelines to have a climate-proofing design and planning. What should means, for example, how to update intensity, duration, frequency curve that usually use for drainage networks. How should be improved and updated, taking into account climate change, and the same also in the design of the buildings or the infrastructure. How select the climate projection, how should be the cutting edge model experiences that you should use. There is a long discussion also, for example, in Eurocodes for constructions, also for at local and national level, how to select the best way to take into account climate change. In this case, we have guidelines taking into account our own experience, so take into account the state of the art to provide some guidelines for different types of assets, okay? But that should be easily replicated in different contexts over Europe.
Thank you, and I should just, put a footnote on that, or not even a footnote, a heading, that, guidelines, it's turning out, is really one of the key issues in governance. And we're looking, and when we look into nature-based solutions, it's turning out that people, even contractors and so on, are very unwilling often to put in a nature-based solution because they're very concerned about liability. Why are they concerned about liability? Because there's no clear guidelines on the performance or on the construction, which they could, if they're sued, they could step back and say, but we followed all the codes. Yeah. So, it's just incredibly important. We've got to cut this a little bit short, but I should also say that whereas the first task kind of went into multi-risk DRR, the last task really focuses into nature-based solutions. I've been talking to many of you in the demonstration project saying, hey, could we think hard about a nature-based solution here? And I'm hoping we'll keep that conversation going and start talking about what could enable that from a governance standpoint, regulations, financing, and so on, and putting forward a policy brief on that particular question. Okay, let's move to the second task, which is robust decision support tools for multi-systemic risk policy making. Again, working with demonstration cases, and I'm so glad we've got Jo Ting here, who has incredible energy. Is going to work with all the demonstrators on developing multi-criteria analyses. So I'll turn it over to Jo.
No, I haven't promised for all the demonstrators. Yeah, of course, we are always try to be ambitious. So basically, at the local level, when you work with the stakeholders, after they receive enough the information, normally from climate side or from the disaster reduction side, then they usually come up with a list of the measures they can do, like adaptation measure, actions. In economic, there's usually approach this cost-benefit analysis, cost-effective analysis, or multi-criteria analysis. And what in this task is different is that we engage a stakeholder from the beginning when we do these kind of analysis, and to include the social aspects really deeply in these analysis. For example, whether these actions are meeting justice values, and also whether these benefits, by adapting to these measures, whether these benefits would be equally distributed, especially among the vulnerable people. And then we hope to look for some of the demonstrator when you are as far as coming out with a list of the possible actions with a stakeholder, and they want to know, okay, we might have the limited budget at the local level. If we can choose only 3 out of 10 to implement, can you tell us which one could be implemented first? And then we will show you the methodology, and then we will work with you, with the stakeholder, how to deal with this step by step. And most important thing, as I said, is the stakeholder engage in this process, calculating them, so the stakeholder realize that these actually is in the concept of when they are already making a decision, what should be included in their thinking. And this kind of systemic thinking is the whole point of this method. And we will try to make it available to all the demonstrators, but feel free to come back to us when you have the specific needs. And yeah, month 24.
Okay, thank you. The second deliverable on the manual on serious games for cascading and compound impacts, unfortunately, many of you probably know Kevin, who has apparently left the Potsdam Institute, and so we're working right now on developing maybe some proposals from other partners who might develop this serious game. So that's in process, I don't think need to say too much more about that. So I'll move now to the last task, which insurance and risk financing instruments for DRR and local resilience. We have just 2 slides left here. I see we have 3 minutes left, so I'll turn it over to Guido to say a little bit more about this task. I should also say that we haven't invited Antonio, Francesco, and Francesca up to join our team, but they're very much a part of our team, but they have promised me that Guido represents them.
Okay, as said by John, the task is led formally by LETA, and CMCC and IASA, they support the development of insurance and risk financing instruments. There is a strong opportunity for us, for the HuT, to have on board LETA, that will be a strong technical scientific partner, but also a good link, the best link with the insurance sector. So the ambition is that, in this task, to designing, developing, and validating innovative prototype tools to address insurance protection gaps. We have identified during the proposal drafting, but probably it has been confirmed also today during the internal innovation phase, that we can start working on 2 demonstrators that are 3 and 8, where we work with to develop different tools related to different hazards. In first case, for them 3, we work with geological hazard. In the second one, we have interest in a special way to fires. However, we not scratch from the ground in this case, because we have a strong collaboration between CMCC and LETA in the last years, and we are working together for development of European Extreme Events Climate Index, a synthetic index providing information about over Europe, the areas affected by different types of weather-induced hazard and severity of such events. It is an operational tool that has been each month updated by using the data included in the 5th generation of atmospheric analysis produced by SNWF ERA 5. The data are fully comparable because they are provided in terms of standardized anomaly, and it should be used, for example, as starting point for parametric insurance products, okay? Because they provide an idea about how in events could be considered extreme compared to the climatology of the area. So it can be improved. different data set can be used, but it is only a way to demonstrate that we have some idea to start to the working and the activity. That's all.
Good. It's good. We've got 12 seconds left, just enough time for you to see this beautiful Schloss where I work, and I'm hoping that Anna's been there quite a lot. Many of you have told me you have been to IASA. You're all very welcome. Maybe we'll have one of our meetings at IASA. It's in a Habsburg Palace that's just outside of Vienna. Okay, I think unless anybody wants to add, we're out of time. And we're really very much looking forward to doing this research, very much looking forward to working with just about all of you in the demonstrator sites. Some of you have come up to me and said, hey, you're really interested also in governance, policy and governance. We're definitely not covering all the topics that could be covered, so if somebody wants to join in and do some other work, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Guido is there so that you can start.
Okay, I'm again here. So in this case, as work package leader, okay, there is, in this case, in the presentation, I would like to provide brief details about the work package, but also the finding of the discussion, the fruitful discussion that I have during the interactive session before. First of all, the work package 4 in a nutshell. The work package is structured in 3 tasks. The first one is led by CMCC, the only partner within it. It concerns overview of existing knowledge. It is quite huge, so after we discuss in which way we can tailor in the best way to address the aims of the project. After we have task 4.2, Innovative Nexus Monitoring, led by Arantec, and task 4.3, in this case, led by UNISA. As you can see, lots of partners are involved in this work package, 14, with different level of engagement. For example, 29 per month for Arantec, 18 for CMCC and UNISA, and so on. It cover more or less all the project, because in the first 6 months, we have the task 4.1, that is a sort of introduction to the work to do. And after, we have 39 months for the task 4.2 and task 4.3 that does more or less work in parallel, but of course with strong synergies between them. So, let's back to the task 4.1, overview of existing knowledge. Again, when we draft the proposal on the wave of enthusiasm, we should cover all the aspects of the RR innovations, but after has been found that we can understand in which way we can address what is written, it should be overview of tools already available or under development for prevention and preparedness DRR actions. So we have discussed the deliverable is expected at month 6. During the interactive session, I have discussed with some partners about how to make the output appealing and useful for the art and community of practitioners. My ambition is to avoid the nightmare of a 60-page report that can be not used by anyone. So we should discuss in next days, in next weeks, with some partner how to tailor, how to shape it. Probably we can focus our attention on a specific aspect, for example, early warning, and we can decide to understand how cutting-edge techniques approach can be used for different hazards. So the idea is to focus our attention on a specific stage of the RR, probably in this case early warning, and to focus our attention on which way cutting-edge approach can be used. It should be more or less the starting point for modeling and monitoring activities. The task 4.2 is innovative nexus monitoring. In this case, it is easily to identify two subtasks. The first one is IoT monitoring. That means exploiting new low-cost and robust technologies to improve the observation of water forcing or impacts at the ground, and human sentinels. That means involving people living in risky areas for a proper maintenance of sensor or for documenting the impacts of extreme climate events. The other critical issue within this task is to have a strong connection with work package 2 to make really useful the nexus among the different aspects of the RR. In this case, we have three deliverables. The first is a plan of the monitoring activity to develop. The second is a sort of synopsis to have an idea about the work done and to do in terms of monitoring activities according to the HuT project plan. After we have a sort of final report that is the summary of the nexus monitoring activity and lessons learned, probably that can be used also by work package 5. In this case, during the interactive session, I've discussed with the partners involved within it about IoT monitoring, which should be the plan of the activity, how to ensure a streamlined transfer, how for human sentinels, how it should be actually carried out and where, and work package 2, how to ensure the nexus. So for IoT monitoring, the good suggestions should be starting from a starting point, to understand what is the starting point in different demonstrators in terms of sensors, field monitoring, which type of technology is used. Also to understand where could be better to improve the system, and so which are the demonstrators where such requirement could be more relevant. For human sensor, also in this case, we have discussed what could mean human sentinel, where the communities and practitioners can support, for example, the sensor maintenance or the identification of events or areas where we have poor maintenance, so more vulnerable to the events and so on. So we have some ideas, but the idea at the moment to start the activity is a clear idea about what is the time zero, what we have now in different demonstrators, and which are the demonstrators really interested to work on this activity. Of course, we strongly refer to the partners involved within the task. The task 4.3 instead is innovative nexus modeling, as said before, is led by UNISA. In this case, the plan of deliverables is quite work in parallel with those provided, displayed for Nexus monitoring. Indeed, we have also in this case a plan expected only a month after the previous one, ongoing a synopsis about the activities to do and carried out more or less at the end of the task, and we have a final report expected at month 44. So in this case, we have identified three main subtasks. The first one is dynamic exposure mapping that is managed by a partner, GFZeta. So today he has been really active during the innovation phase. So we have in the first case an idea that they can work on two demonstrators, but probably there is room to improve, to increase their involvement in different other demonstrators to test how their approach can be tailored to fit the expectation for different geomorphological contexts, different dynamics. After for weather forcing, okay, probably for this case, we need a step before, okay? Because probably among the requests to the demonstrator, we would like to ask them which should be their requirements on different time horizon, on which time horizon they should be interested, how they are interested to improve weather forcing, and after we move from this requirement to the expert involved in the task that are Met Office, IMO, Vilnius University, to understand how to address which requirement can be addressed within the HuT initiatives. Finally, for predictive tools, we have very different suite of hazard because in this task we are partly involved for fire modeling hazard, or for modeling heat waves and drought. So it is not easy at this stage to identify a similar approach. It needs probably one-to-one interaction, but the idea in this case is, of course, to take into account that the HuT is an innovation action, okay? There is no large room for improvement of the model because the output, the expected outputs, they should be characterized by an ITRLL, already developed tools, but we have discussed also with some of the partners involved. It seems that we are on similar line on this point. So this is more or less the summary of the activity. As you can see, it is a work in progress, but today was a good opportunity to start the discussion and interaction to identify the crucial issues to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, work package 1, jotting.
This is my last presentation today. I told Michele and Guido that after this, tonight I can drink one limoncello. So I will try to be quick, return the extra minutes I used up this morning. So we are work package 1. Welcome everyone, especially the demonstrator. This is your stage. This is your arena. What we are going to do. When we were designing the work packages, I was really happy to know that we came up with this term. Arena. So this is basically to all the demonstrators, this is your stage. And treat this work package 1 as we are your matchmaker, your platform, your engine to support you to accelerate, or we are the promoter to promote your innovations. So how we are going to do that is that we will work, you see the design, that we will work really closely with other work packages. So if you see, if you need any kind of expertise, then we can get from the HuT consortium these kind of expertise to you. Or if you see that you already have innovation, you want to transfer within the 10 demonstrator, or you want to transfer to other regions in Europe or beyond, as mentioned in the call, then we will work with work packages, other work packages to do that. So this is the concept of these. These are the overview of the tasks. I will go into the details, each of them. And you can see right away that the first task is the fast-track implementation. So it's really different from maybe other projects you have done that usually you spend the first 2 years do stakeholder engagement, co-design, and then the last 2 years you start maybe the implementation. But we are doing it differently. Month 1, if you're ready, start implementation. And how are we going to do that? We already see the presentation from the demonstrator this morning. We did a speed dating, so let's try to find out the question you want to answer, the problem you want to solve, and exactly ask your users what would be the needs to offer the services they really need them. And how are we going to achieve those? Do we have the expertise within the HuT? And remember the table we fill up is already the best practice that's ready, doesn't need a customization. We already did that actually during the speed dating. And who has the expertise? So we quickly matchmake you with the people who have the expertise, and can we already start doing that? And then we think a 10 demonstrator, let's alert, we can learn from each other, and what would be the strength, what would be the weaknesses, what would be the possible opportunities coming out from us, and then how do we work with other work packages to promote your outcome. So I would say task 1, all the demonstrators start implementing. And then we discussed like there are actually a lot of opportunity coming out of the demonstrator. So there's this design, quite a unique design called Local DRR Nexus Forum. And we can explain to this concept, so you know traditionally from really old project, maybe 10 years ago, is that we have a research project without engaging a stakeholder from the beginning, and then we do our research, and at the end, we come out with a tool that say, hey, now this tool is ready on the market. Why nobody want to use it? You know this traditional pipeline. So we want to do it very differently. What we want in the demonstrator, you engage your users, your stakeholder right from the beginning. They identify the problem you want to solve together with them. And then so you come out with the main question you want to solve together with them. And how to do that is you really have to create a kind of forum or a platform to engage them together. And I really like the Guido mentioned this morning that they want it to be a legacy. After 4 years, this forum will still run. And how to set it up is to ensure that you engage the people right at the beginning, and who could be those people. So they could be really like the private sector, the policymaker. I heard here demonstrator talking about educational partners like schools. So really to use these people, engage them right from the beginning. And we really want them to be together with you right away, early on. So don't wait until month 24, 36. Start from month 1, as this task mentioned. And then how do we transform these kind of traditional thinking risk into some kind of opportunity with them? So for example, but at that time, when I was writing the proposal, I was working with some startups. They were developing any other kind of services that I never was in the area. I was on the climate, and I mentioned that, hey, you're about to launch an app. So I have a climate information here. Are you interested? And they're about to launch their app on the market. They say, no problem, for us it's just one additional function, they're going to launch it. And there was a moment I realized, if we can have such a forum, we open up our research result, and you engage, for example, your local startup, your local NGOs, your local school. They might take it up in a society and try to think in any kind of innovative way to design your local DRR Nexus forum. Some could be similar, some could be very different, depending on your setting. So this is our very important task. The third one, if you join our Work Package 1 Nexus corner, then you hear our very lively discussion. So I try to summarize it to save the time, but if the task lead, you want to jump in to correct me, please feel free to do so. So basically, you will get a template from our, let's say, the data expert. Then we will try to find out that what's the existing data in each of the demonstrator, and think about what would be the potential added value for your potential users, and we can see whether at the end we can have the 10 different kind of data portals to reach the new users, or to offer the users that they can have the added value to you. So this is the task 1.3, and 1.4 is that when I was writing a proposal, I put a lot of efforts into thinking how to bring us all together. You see, we have climate people, we have early warning people, we have municipalities. What would be the right approach to bring us all together? And that was where the storytelling, the narratives come in this work package very strongly. You see it in my demonstrator, you see on day 1 useful experience is that if human being, we will do actions when we believe in a story. So what would be the common story that bring us together? What would be the common story that bring climate change and disaster reduction together? What would be the story that bring natural scientists and social scientists together? What would be the story that bring practitioners and us as academia together? So this would be the story we are going to create together. So you have to map who the stakeholders are, and then engage and to develop your own story in your own hub, in your own demonstrator. And you are going to develop such a unique story that it's about the process. It's about the process that they engage and they are allowed to share their own story. We will provide you the template. I will work closely with Anna. to provide a template already on month 3. And remember, this is a process. So a story is not an outcome only. So you can see the deliverable 1.5 is that month 12, month 24, month 33, 36, you are allowed to develop your stories further. It's a process you engage people. It's a process to build trust. It's a process to build the courage to act together. How to do that? We will provide you the categories, and in each category, we will provide you the template how you can develop better. So there are a few principles. So first of all is that you just let people means your stakeholder, to tell their stories. It could be their experiences, could be their visions about the future, could be their fears, could be about their vision in the future, their dreams. And let them also listen to each other's stories. So that's why there's a me and you in our narrative, the HuT for me and you, because my perception on risk might be really different from someone from somewhere else, or even we live on the same street, we're just so different. And this process of listening to each other, that the locals develop their local narrative. And in this narrative, there should have 6 really important elements. Is first of all, we are trying to find out what would be a safe haven for the locals. A safe home in Iceland means completely different. It means a safe home in Germany, in Italy, because we experience different disasters. So that the locals define their own safe haven. And then let them ask them, what would be the risks you perceive or you experience or you expect? And then what would be the opportunities? If we act now, maybe we will reduce our risk. What would be the opportunity? And then the next step is ask them, how can you imagine to build this safe haven together? And this is the pathway approach. Start to guide them to think about the future and ask them what are the next steps to be able to build such a HuT. So think about the future anticipatory actions to support implementation. And have we reached there yet? And how do we think about the future? So this evaluation and review. And we will guide you through this process. As I said, it's not a product, say, boom, this is a story. It's the long process we develop these local stories together. And in this work package, we are going to find out with the demonstrator what will be the commonalities of these stories. I can imagine we develop, some maybe say, we really want to develop a storybook together with children and as a children's book. And some say maybe we want to have a platform that people can use. So our stories could be really, really different, but there are some commonalities among us. So we can try to find different set of stories, but any format is open. So you are allowed to be innovative and identify the entry point and use this entry point to develop local story, to touch local people's heart to start an action with us. And the last task is, I think it's Brian. Brian Michele with basically, I heard the template is already ready, but they decide to do a mutual learning process. So the template, even though it's ready, they would like to know the local needs. And we will also receive the template early enough to give the input to say, okay, whether these should be modified, tailored design to the local use. And through this mutual learning process, we can evaluate the existing early warning system, how far you are, how much impact you're already producing. So this is the task 1.5. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sienna. She's already on stage.
No. Very good. So the last 15 minutes, transferability and scalability. Let's go like this. I see my presentation, I don't see it on the screen. What I'm doing wrong. Very good. We are on the slide 3. Yes. The objective of the working package is to streamline and transferability and scalability of the solutions within our demonstrators and without the specific original content. It's set up the cross-fertilization of the Nexus Forum, international one, understand the process of transfer and scalability work for our solutions and how it can be replicated, and inform the policy about the solution and their transfer. It might not seem to be a straightforward thing, but somehow the transfer is connected to all of us, because at the end of the project, we probably want that our work is used by the end users, and also we want that we can use our solutions in other projects or in other areas. So let's look how we can together fill in this objective. So how to get there, what we have. I decided to explain a bit the transfer process because I had the perception that it's not clear from all of us in the same way. So I want to, that we are on the same page at the beginning of the project. So first of all, what is there? Our starting point is differing. There exists a demonstrator which has consolidated expertise, which is already available. And there are the others who have limitedly developed solutions, and they are expected to adopt the practices from other demonstrators to improve their solutions and develop further. Then we have the project participants who have the solutions, which allow cross-transfer to participants and to demonstrator area. And we have the stakeholders, let's call them like stakeholders for the moment, who are involved in this, who can be involved in design and development of solution and transfer process, and they need to be recognized. So we have our approach from the HuT project, and this HuT approach is based in, has 3 domains of expertise: human centers, DRR, governance and policy, science and technology. Solution can cover one domain or all of them. We don't try to have the one approach fit all approach, but the HuT approach is different. We identify optimal mixture of solutions based on the needs and the unique requirements of the demonstrators and end users when we are thinking about going out from the context of our project. Solution can be new actions, improvement of existing tool and processes, or important as it is, and just identify the bottlenecks. The solutions should be available and applicable beyond the project and consortium. So there are all of these aspects we are looking in the transfer working package. So the transfer and scalability approach will consider the needs of the end user, assessing the starting line of the demonstrator which is going to adopt or transfer. 2, identify the barriers and opportunities for the transfer, define ways and processes to tackle and capitalize them, monitor the process, learn and adapt. So this is an important aspect to see what is happening in the transfer and how we can change the transfer, and analyze the process into replication roadmap, because this replication roadmap will give us, it will be a final results documentation about our process. So what to transfer? We know we have 25 activities. We were discussing them today morning. You had this beautiful table, one with all of them. And we know they are in 6 fields of action. And we know that we can transfer them, transfer the best practice already developed in the solution from demonstrator to demonstrator, partner to demonstrator, partners to partner, develop new or upgrade existing solutions, demonstrator to demonstrator, partner to demonstrator, and surprisingly partner to partner. Then we have out-of-project transfer routes. There are to those external stakeholders, either on the local level, like we have heard about the people who can be interested to develop, for example, the app, the startups, as Jotin has said. So different type of stakeholders, people who have different, who are operating on different levels of decision-making, have different power or influence. And then we have a governance and policy enables implementers businesses. So whom to transfer. And we have activities in the project transfer routes. And today we did a beautiful exercise with the innovation fair, in which you were asked to present your demonstrator as you will present it on an innovation fair. And you had to identify the activities which are going to transfer within the process. We did this to update that what was done in the proposal stage. And you can see on this table, which I quickly did in the lunch, that we had a different type of, now it will be, it works. So I like it more like this. So you can see there that we have different colors, and the colors show, the yellow one is interesting, there are the new activities which were defined during the innovation fair. The green one are optional. The blue one, which are 25, are that which are confirmed in comparison to the stage. So we have a 20 new, 25 confirmed, and we have a lot of gray ones. And I'm not sure, I don't want to say what is the portion of the blue ones in the gray ones, because I hope that the gray color is only there because some of you didn't fill all of the rows of this activity table, and it's unclear for us if it means you are going to apply it as you said in the proposal stage, or it means that you are not going to do that. So there is also a brown color in this table of those who were here in the group and couldn't decide today if they are going to do a new activity or not. So we have some type of analysis, we have some idea, and we have also the idea that innovation fair and the discussion can trigger new activities. And we had also another sheet. We find out 44 interactions which were documented, which you discussed together. And in only 11 cases, you clearly indicated this was in the proposal or not. And in 9 cases, in the interaction today, you have said this was a new one. Actually, this idea came because we shared it in the fair. So this is a wonderful result for us as cross-fertilization event, but it needs a bit of revision. Also because for the transfer processes and for all the project, it's very important to know what we are going to transfer and how. And therefore, I returned the papers to all of you. I have still 2 demonstrators by me, so I will give it to you later. And I will kindly ask you to revise the table 1, and revise the activity table, and send it to me in around 15 days. Then we, on the project level and the transfer package, have a clear idea about that, what you like to transfer. And the table 1 is updated for us. And we also decided to track how the activities which you had today, the interaction which you had today with the partners, how you are going to develop them. Because it is nice to talk sometimes when there is this atmosphere of cooperation, but let's look on it, how did you develop it in 2-3 months from now? So in 3 months from now, I will ask you again to update me about which of these activities are really being developed. Any question to this? No? I have 6 minutes, so I will be quick now. This was the interesting part because it was some results from today. Back to the working package structure. So I really like this. So in the working package, we have 4 activities. The overview of existing knowledge. We have the working task 5.2, which is consisting of 5 of them, replication roadmap and capitalizing the outcomes in policy briefing. Each of these activities has some reasons why it is here. First, we want to know what are the state-of-the-art experiences and solutions, how to make the transfer process. And then we have the 5.2 tasks, which are really targeted on that, how these activities which have to boost the transfer process within the project. So they are targeted for demo sites, for partners to boost the, and this is the International DRA Nexus. It's the horizontal actions of representative of local fora, which Jotink has spoke about, and exchange with audiences which working on those DRA solutions. Then we have innovation fairs. You know how it works, but the next time when we will doing it, there will be some outer partners, outer interest parties. So it will not be only our fair, but we will try to promote our solutions to the outer world. Then we have a platform, which it's called virtual platform, but what actually is going to happen is to peer meetings when we will exchange about how the transfer is actually going. We are aiming to have them quarterly, 1 meeting quarterly online, when we can exchange what are the current issues, how we can tackle them, give advice to each other. Then we have a product of field visits, when we will, I already talked about them, it's a special product for the demo sites, our partners who are transferring the solutions, and it's really targeting to that you go to the place and you can learn in detail how the transfer process is working, and the plans common steps, how you can support each other in the transfer. And we have 2 field visits planned within the demonstrator budget during this project. So use the opportunity and visit the demonstrators or partners you are interested to work with. Then we have Science Art Fusion. This is to raise the awareness on the relevance of the best practices in transfer. Okay, all those things will fit because we will do them, we will monitor them, and they will fill the replication roadmap. What is this? We decided to create strategies, to take the strategies and lessons learned from HuT to one single document, which will be co-designed with the key stakeholders, and I would invite also the working package leader and the task leaders from the other tasks to be part of it, to really give a roadmap how such a solution which we are developing can be replicated on different levels. And then we will have a policy brief based on this. So this is in a nutshell. We have on the left side in the orange is the duration of the task. We have the leader. We have the partners. And here we have the deliverables. I would like only to say that there are different partners for different deliverables, and the task 5.4, after the discussion, it will be changed, and I will decided to have the, 5.2.3, we decided to have this virtual platform in the website, so it will be Ikonos who will be leading it, and I will change this in the presentation later. And we do have the deliverables deadlines on the right side in the orange again. So I also identified the deliverables which are related, in my opinion, in transfer, replicability, scalability. And interestingly, I found a lot of them in different working packages. And here are There are the one from the working package 1, this is clear because we work closely to the demonstrators, and the transfer which is happening in demonstrators will fit our working package. So, and local level is ensuring and streamlining the transfer on local level. Then we have the working package 2, and for me it's interesting that they actually include, or you include, communities in the process of transfer and development. And this is an interesting, like the results which you will have can be really contributive to when we describe the process of replication. I think they can easily feed the explanation how we do transfer. Then we have a third working package, which is governance and policy. It will say very clearly this is a very important thing because transfer cannot happen without their support. And I feel or understand that there will be an important innovation in governance and financing, which will be developed within this working package. And therefore, I think that these deliverables will be crucial to be included in the replication roadmap, at least the ideas which they will be developing. And then we have the working package 6, why communication, dissemination, exploitation. Transfer is usually putting in this. And also for me, transfer start with the first word, how we are going to speak, how we are speaking, planning our communication to the outer world. So I see there is a big possibility or synergy with the communication package when we were talking about transfer. So how we communicate, influence, how we can transfer. Yes, so in 4 years from now, we will have documented the process of the streamline, transferability, and scaling up. We will know the pathway, how to do that. When we want to go from other regional context, we will have the International DRA Nexus Forum, and will be active, and the stakeholders would have cooperated. And we will prepare the replication roadmap to say the outer world and inform the policymakers about how to do the safe haven. That's it. Thank you, and looking forward to cooperate on this.
Thank you. Guido, you want to come up as well? So I said at the beginning of the session that we had to make up for some time, for some delay we didn't manage, so we are late on schedule, of course. But given that we gave you already those how do you want to call them? The survey sheets, something to feedback from you about the day, so the morning and the afternoon. I don't have much else to add. So if you have not been doing them while they were presenting, I ask you to provide your feedback, and then we can say that somebody is collecting it at the entrance. So when you leave it at the entrance. So, but please do it. Let's get the feedback tonight. It's the immediate feedback that you have about today's activities, both the morning and the afternoon. I want to say personally, that if there are things that did not work, and there were some things that did not work, in my opinion, please write them down. So let's get real feedback on what went on today, so that we can improve for the future and for the continuation of the project. With that, logistically, the evening. I promised to some of you today at lunch that I was going to tell the story of the lunch. So maybe I can give you my version of it. It was not supposed to be like that. So it's at some point, some people want to say things by doing things that is too much, and they think that they're doing good by doing like that. But indeed, it was maybe too much. But anyway, the way it was tonight, we have the social dinner. So the dinner was supposed to be sort of like that. Not really like that, but sort of like. So please walk around a little bit so that you're ready for tonight. So we will meet all of you at in Bufalito. The place is very close to here, in the center of the town. We are saying 8:15, as in the program. So that's the time for joining us there. There is no need to meet anywhere else but there. Everybody now goes wherever, in the hotels, and then we get ready for tonight. The dinner is there, 8:15. The other news are not there, and then we'll see all of you there, and then tomorrow. Please, before leaving the room, give us your feedback, and tomorrow, anyway, the morning will be also an important time to think about not only these 3 days, but let's say the next, not only 4 years, but let's say the next year, and how to move forward. I would not open for a discussion now. It doesn't make any sense. You want to say something? No. Nothing at all? Yeah, somebody wants to say, yeah. Okay. One was missing here. They come. No, one per partner. Is there any other partners? Any other partner didn't get one? No. Okay. So thank you. See you later at dinner. See you here, and please leave the form before you leave.